Glad you could join us today on Earthfile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. As human populations have grown, so has the demand for wildlife. People in developed countries have become used to lifestyle which fuels demand for it. They expect to have access to a variety of seafoods, leather goods, timbers, medicinal ingredients, textiles, and so on. Conversely, extreme poverty of others means they regard wildlife as a means to meet their short-term needs and will trade it for whatever they can get from it. Not all trade is legal, of course. Wildlife crime is a big business, but how serious is the impact of these activities? Experts say very serious. Today on the program, we'll look at the way out. Just stay with us. Taking a selfie with the world's most poached animal. Conservationists hope this interaction can help humans around the world care more about endangered species like the pangolin. The app is called Safari Central. It was created by social entrepreneur Internet of Elephants, whose plan is to make conservation fun for anyone. Safari Central allows people to interact with augmented reality versions of various animals in the user's own environment.
It's an app that allows users to connect to animals in the wild, and we do this using augmented reality. So we have digital versions of animals that are living currently in the wild, and people can take photos with them and share them with their friends, and in the process get to know a little bit more about the species that we have included in our game at the moment.
Other animals on the app are an elephant, a grizzly bear, a jaguar, a black rhino, and Madagascar's lemur.
We chose the animals because we wanted to have a good mix of iconic species that everyone recognizes, and also a few animals like the pangolin, which many people might not be familiar with, but are also at risk.
The pangolin, a small mammal covered in hard shell-like scales, has been hunted to near extinction. Found in Africa and Asia, the scales are used in traditional remedies for ailments such as asthma, rheumatism, and arthritis. They are also hunted for their meat. This pangolin lives in the Kalahari Desert and is named Rockstar. It is currently under study by researchers from South Africa. Rockstar is the most popular animal on Safari Central. Researcher Wendy Pignano seems to think it's because of the animal's personality.
She's a really cool pangolin. She's shy. But once you introduce yourself slowly and you work with her and you follow her, she comes out of her shell quite nicely. And she doesn't have a family that I know of yet, but hopefully in the near future she will.
The information gathered by Pignano and other researchers, like what they do at night and during the day, goes into the app. Stories about the animals are part of the experience, and developers are able to track how many times users click on the information tabs to learn more.
It's an awareness tool that has incredible value for endangered and protected species. And I think that's a key thing in terms of the feedback that we're getting, is that this awareness that's being generated via the app, and that's very important to us.
Internet of Elephants is also planning to release a game version of the app this year that is similar to Pokemon Go, using wild animals. The game will use GPS data of animals' movements sourced from researchers and Safari Central partners, then challenge players to find them in their own city.
The game itself will involve following animals in your own city. So we take real animal data and transpose it onto any city in the world, and the user can then follow these animals as if they were in the wild.
Research shows that 50% of the world's wildlife has been lost in the past 40 years. Internet of Elephants wants to get millions of people to the facts and contribute in their own way towards reversing the damage. Globally, poaching and associated illegal wildlife trade is devastating populations of iconic wildlife species such as rhinos and elephants, as well as a host of lesser-known ones. Across West and Central Africa, illegal wildlife trade is a particular concern for elephants, timber, great apes, pangolins, birds, reptiles, and medicinal plants. It is also a major focus of current conservation concern and policy development. the will to halt overexploitation of wildlife resource and its threat to biodiversity was one of the reasons stakeholders in conservation gathered recently in Lagos for the 16th SLAJU Memorial Lecture.
That where a regime of law,
speaking on the focus of the year's theme, combating illegal wildlife trade in West Africa, the role of environmental law and governance, the Vice-Chancellor of the Lagos State University said meeting the complexity of the challenge posed by illegal wildlife trade requires a multi-pronged approach to wildlife management.
In particular, appropriate environmental law must be able to play three critical roles. The first is regulation and control through the use of appropriate resource management strategies. The second is that environmental law must contain anticipatory mechanisms to prevent harmful impact of developmental policies. And the third one is that environmental law must be able to take into account transboundary causes and their implications for regulation. One major issue that has always posed a major problem for meeting the challenges of law and governance is how to delimit the boundaries of what is legal or illegal in wildlife trade. Unlike other forms of organized crime, such as drug trafficking, smuggling of migrants, and arms trafficking, which are well defined in international instruments, there is no international agreement that defines wildlife crime. Consequently, there is no universally accepted definition of the phrase, given the global variability in the way wildlife crime is conceived.
Illegal wildlife trade is believed to be the world's fourth most valuable illicit commerce after drugs, human trafficking, and the arms trade. In financial terms, some estimates put the worth of illicit wildlife and plant trade at between 8 billion euros and 20 billion euros annually, while some have placed the estimate at between 15 billion and 20 billion dollars or 10 billion and 23 billion dollars per year. However, despite this recognition, the emphasis to date is discussions and in implementation has been strongly on strengthening government-led law enforcement and reducing consumer demand for illicitly sourced wildlife commodities. Considerably less emphasis has been placed on the role of the indigenous peoples and local communities who live with wildlife. Moreover, some recent commitments, such as the one stemming from the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, Johannesburg Action Plan, do mention the need to combat illegal wildlife trade, but do not recognize the strong role of indigenous peoples and local communities. Illegal wildlife trade has an enormous impact on indigenous peoples and local communities who are affected by insecurity and the depletion of important livelihood and economic assets, while often being excluded from the benefits of conservation. They can also be very negatively affected by heavy-handedness, militarized response to wildlife crime that frequently make little distinction between the illegal activities driven by large-scale profits, also known as